Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Congressman Steve Scalise is in critical condition in a Washington hospital. He's going to need more surgeries after the shooting attack on the Republican baseball team yesterday morning.
Well, the new law enforcement is trying to find out more about the man who went after the congressional Republicans. Eric Rosales brings us this look at the shooting assault and the heroes who saved lives.
Noah Nathan of Alexandria, Virginia, was walking his dog right next to the practice at Simpson Field when shots rang out Wednesday morning.
I thought it was fireworks. And then I heard another one, and I was like, okay, this isn't fireworks. And then I saw some of the players scurrying around. And so I just got down.
The gunfire lasted for several minutes. Nathan hid behind a trash can. You actually had shots come near you.
Yeah, they were hitting off the gravel, and you can hear them hitting the fence.
And what did you do then?
I was just trying to get as flat as I could.
In the end, Congressman Steve Scalise was struck in the hip, rushed to the hospital, and underwent surgery. Matt Micah, lobbyist for Tyson Foods, was shot in the chest. Zachary Barth, a staffer, was also hit and is expected to make a full recovery. And a Capitol Police officer, Crystal Griner, was also struck during the gun battle. Representatives at the ballpark said they are thankful to be alive.
I saw the gunman come around the backstop, and he had a clear line of fire into the dugout.
I only saw him for a second or two, long enough for me to recognize if I could see him, he could see me.
FBI investigators say the shooter, 66-year-old James Hodgkinson from Illinois, died at the hospital after being shot in the chest several times. Records confirm Hodgkinson was highly critical of President Trump and other Republicans on social media. He had been in trouble with the law before. Police received a phone call about him after gunfire was reported near his Bellevue, Illinois home. The FBI told CBN News the 66-year-old was not working and had been living out of his car since March of this year in the Alexandria area.
We will continue to have presence as we process a scene here in Alexandria, and FBI agents are searching the shooter's home.
After the shooting, local pastors showed up quickly to provide prayer and support.
We can have differences of opinion on various political topics, but violence should never be a part of that.
Meanwhile, both U.S. Capitol and Alexandria police top brass praised the work of officers assigned to protect Scalise, as well as the officers responding to the scene.
I'm very proud of the officers at APD and the officers from the Capitol Police who stood their ground and did their job.
They did a job which saved the lives of many at and around the ballpark. Gordon?
Yes, they did. And if they hadn't been there, you wonder the carnage that would have resulted. They certainly saved many lives. Eric, the FBI said the shooter stayed in Alexandria, and they want to speak with people who had encounters with him. What are they looking for?
Well, the main thing right now is they want to figure out motive. You know, they want to figure out, was this an isolated incident? What set him off? One of my colleagues did speak to the mayor of Alexandria, and she said that she actually met the gunman at the local YMCA. She was known, or he was known, that is, as the man with the computer. She says that he would often shower there, and he basically was, he didn't seem depressed. He was, and he was very well spoken. That's what she said.
Well, it certainly looks like we're going to see more security. These are, after all, public servants, and they have to be at public events. Are we going to see that? Are we going to see now security with every member of Congress?
Well, you know, I did speak with a number of people on Capitol Hill, a number of the senators and congressmen, and they actually just said no. You know, they don't want it. It's they need to be able to have, the public needs to be able to have access to them, and that really sends out the wrong message, a message that these types of criminal acts are in fact winning, and they don't want that.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you. Democrats and Republicans came together in Congress after yesterday's shooting attack, and House Speaker Paul Ryan made it clear that both parties were standing united.
An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
Partisan politics paused for a day as Capitol Hill united in prayer for those injured in Wednesday's attack.
We were sitting ducks. I mean, we had nothing to fight back with but bats.
Congressman Roger Williams told us of efforts to help his wounded aide, Zachary Barth, including Representative Jeff Flake tying a tourniquet around his leg.
All the time he was bleeding and we were under fire, he was texting. he was texting, letting people know we were under fire and that we needed help.
Senator Rand Paul told CBN News he felt helpless watching Representative Scalise go down as the gunfire continued.
People are nearly killed because of someone who got carried away with politics.
Paul says had Scalise, as a House leader, not had his Capitol Police security detail with him, it would have been a massacre.
True heroes, man and a woman. They confronted the attacker, returned fire. Both were wounded, both in the hospital, but probably saved the lives of many people.
The Democratic baseball team practicing nearby stopped and prayed in the dugout upon hearing the news. That type of emotion swept Capitol Hill as other lawmakers learned of the shooting. Senator Langford told CBN how he saw various staffers gathered in prayer, and he ended his floor speech praying for those injured and thanking God for his protection. He says colleagues are now talking about the rise in death threats to lawmakers.
Many of my fellow colleagues have faced a lot of personal death threats to them and to their family. And we see what that really looks like when that actually gets carried out by some individual that moves from just making threats or being a person that's angry to actually carrying that out.
Earlier, President Trump called for unity as he spoke to the nation about the shooting.
America is praying for all of the victims of this terrible shooting.
In the evening, he left the White House to visit Scalise and the wounded officers. Despite the shooting, the congressional baseball game will still go on as scheduled. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Well, with us now from Capitol Hill is our CBN News political correspondent, David Brody. And David, there's a lot of talk that the poisoned political climate there is at least partly responsible for this attack. Do you think this tragedy will somehow change that?
Gordon, I don't think so. You know, I've been up here now close to 15 years, and, you know, remember Gabby Gifford 6 years ago, and actually the political climate got worse after that shooting, not better. I don't really expect anything new to change here, Gordon. And, you know, let's remember, we heard a lot of flowery statements yesterday from Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi. When I say flowery, I'm not demeaning it at all, but I'm simply saying that that's nice for one day, but what about the other 364 days? And I think that's the concern up here on the Hill. And look, Gordon, I've covered the topics and issues up here for a very long time now, and I can tell you that this really is a battle for our culture. There are conservative Republicans up here and conservatives overall that are battling for the culture. There are liberals on the other side who want to move our country in a certain direction, and that's the cauldron. Then you bring Donald Trump into the mix, who tells it like it is, throws political correctness out the window, and it's a very volatile poison out there. I say poison, a very volatile solution that is obviously turning into what we saw yesterday.
Well, this shooter was clearly targeting Republicans. Are they concerned about the threat to their safety?
Well, you know, I heard Eric mention that, in essence, what are they going to do? They got to move on, and that is true. I will say there was a senator, and I won't give the name out, but a senator's office told me this morning specifically that they have seen the number of threats to their office go up considerably in the last few months, and there is talk here on Capitol Hill about doing something, but I think that's the key word. What is the something? And there's been even talk about dipping into campaign funds. In other words, they'd obviously have to change the laws up here on Capitol Hill about that, but congressmen dipping into their campaign funds to provide security detail for them. So that's one of a myriad of suggestions up here, but nothing with traction so far yet, Gordon.
Okay. There's also talk about a concealed carry legislation that would allow them to bear arms within D.C. Will that happen?
Not much traction on that either. Now there is a bill here on the House side by Georgia Congressman Barry Loudermilk, who was at the congressional baseball practice yesterday. He has introduced that concealed carry legislation, and basically what they're trying to do with that legislation, and there's been companion legislation on the Senate side as well, which means that if you have a concealed carry permit in the state that you're from, that you would come to D.C. and be allowed to have a concealed carry permit here in D.C. as well. It wouldn't be for all members of Congress, just for those that already have it. But once again, that's been tried here for years. It hasn't gone anywhere. I don't necessarily expect that to go much further up here as well.
Well, let's go back to the poison atmosphere. There's a report, a leak, that the special counsel may investigate Trump for obstruction of justice. How do you think the White House will respond?
Well, the White House has put themselves in a position where all comments will come from the lawyer in the case, Trump's main lawyer. Having said that, there are comments always coming from Donald Trump's Twitter feed. And as a matter of fact, this just coming out this morning, I'll read it to you. This is Donald Trump saying, "You are witnessing the greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people." So, look, this is Donald Trump fighting back. That's what he does. Look, I don't think there's any question here that Donald Trump intended to make sure his name was cleared. I mean, he'll be the first one to admit that. He wanted his name cleared. The question is, was there intent to obstruct justice? And, of course, that's a much higher bar, and we go into a lot of legal issues. I will say this. The lawyers for the Trump White House are basically a bit concerned about the fact that Robert Mueller has, in essence, hired a lot of folks in his lawyer team with Democrat ties, whether it be financial or otherwise, and that has them a bit up at night.
Well, I frankly don't think it's going to go anywhere. Alan Dershowitz has already come out to say it's absolutely impossible for the president to obstruct justice at the federal level. The FBI reports to him, the Justice Department reports to him. And in any case, he can always end any investigation by pardoning anyone involved in it. So you do sort of scratch your head from a legal standpoint. What are they doing? But Mueller clearly has a dream team, and it looks like we're going to be in for a long, long investigation. Many headlines to come. Well, David, thank you. Thank you for your insight.
Thanks, Corey.
I do want to remind people that we have an aspiration, and I hope it's more than an aspiration. I hope we can make it real, that we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the current political climate, I believe, has led to this. You certainly hear the rhetoric calling for all kinds of things, and for somebody to actually act on that, is shocking to us, but at the same time, it's a byproduct of the climate. So what do we do now? I think we need to pray, and we're already seeing that on Capitol Hill, Democrats and Republicans coming together to pray. And we need to once again reaffirm we are one nation under God, indivisible. We may have our political differences, but it should not divide us as a nation.